Well, hello everybody, and thank you for joining us today. I can see that there are a lot of people logging in from all over the country and actually all over the world. And my name is Gustavo Tolosa, and I'm a concert pianist for one thing. So I travel a lot, and some of you are following me on Facebook, and you can see the pictures of places where I am. But I'm also a webinar host, and I host every Thursday a webinar with Dr. McDougall that is free at 11 a.m. Pacific time, and you're all welcome to attend. You can always go to his website, drmcdougall.com, under the education tab, and you can find the webinar there and you can sign up. And I also love doing these webinars with Chef AJ. We all love her and appreciate the time. If you knew how much time it takes for her to prepare for these recipes and all the materials, we should be charging $100 per person. But because these are homemade webinars and they're not perfect, that we don't have the most perfect lighting and microphone and cameras, and I hope that you all understand that that's how we can keep the cost down and make it available for all of you. So I think that Chef AJ is ready, so I'm going to welcome her, and I'm waiting to have sound from her end.
Can you hear me, everyone? Hello?
All right, thank you. And welcome, Chef AJ. How are you?
Gustavo, thank you so much for doing this. I don't think people realize how much work you actually do.
Yeah.
We just basically log in and here we are, but there really is a lot that goes on behind the scenes. And thank you, Gustavo, for doing this and for having the idea. You know, Gustavo was visiting me in September, and he literally an hour before our first webinar, he said, let's do a webinar. And we had so much fun working together. And I love your shirt, and I'm very excited to share these recipes with everyone. So I
came dressed for the party. You all know that.
I've changed 3 times now. I wasn't sure what to wear. I wanted to wear a chef coat. It's more professional, but with the oven on, it's really, really hot and with the lights. So I'm just wearing a t-shirt. I apologize that you don't have the recipes. I've been sick just with asthma, nothing contagious. You will get them within the next week, I promise. But I think it's good that they don't have them, Gustavo, because then they'll watch and then they'll get the recipes rather than just.
I think it's better. I really do.
So this is good this way. And so these are things that I eat. You know, those of you that have been following me know that 4 years ago I weighed 50 pounds more than I weigh now. And these are the types of recipes that I eat every day. This doesn't mean come towards you, but when I cook, I have to go there. Okay, these are the things I eat every day, almost every day to maintain this 50-pound weight loss. And they're all delicious. They're all easy. And we're going to do our best to get done in an hour because we have 8 recipes. So let's get cooking. So the first recipe is mushroom chili. And if you think it's the mushroom chili from before, it's not. Let me start making it, and then I'll explain how this recipe came to be. It's actually a hybrid recipe. So I'm using my Instant Pot electric pressure cooker. I love the Instant Pot because it has a stainless steel insert. You can get $50 off using my name, AJ, at instantpot.com. I'm going to do something a little bit different with this recipe than I've done in all my other recipes. I'm going to use the saute function. I never used it. I never thought it was necessary. I'm not even sure it is necessary, but my friend Sharon McRae, who's a health coach in Maryland, taught me how to use it, and it's really easy. The reason I'm using it in this recipe is because it's such a voluminous recipe with the 2 pounds of mushrooms that until we get the 8-quart pressure cooker, which I hear is coming out this month, it actually helps to saute it because it reduces the volume a little bit. So a lot of the ingredients you're going to say, oh, that's really similar, but it's not. So let me get the recipe started, then I'll explain how this recipe is quite different from the original mushroom chili recipe that those of you that are in the Ultimate Weight Loss Program have in the 21-day recipe guide or the recipe from YouTube. So I am a lazy chef. I would rather pay a few pennies more and have everything cut up. I don't have the best knife skills. So I live next door to Trader Joe's, but you can get chopped onion everywhere. Smart and Final, we have stores like that. Whole Foods, regular grocery store like Ralph's, everywhere has chopped onions. Onions make me cry, so I buy them already chopped, 10-ounce bag, and I am just plopping them in the pressure cooker. And what I'm doing is I'm just pushing this button right here, lower left-hand button on your Instant Pot that says saute. And now I'm going to treat this just like a pot, like I would, whether I was using waterless cookware or stainless steel. And what I'm going to do is it's just going to saute. If it starts to dry up a little bit, we do like we saute on the stove. Put a little bit of water. Now you might notice here that I have a pot of boiling water. Actually, it's a pot that has a steamer basket. And I have 3 cups of water in it. And I'm gonna steam up some broccoli now because when we make the nacho cheese sauce, I love putting it over broccoli. Once again, I love buying things in bags, already washed. This is organic broccoli, a 12-ounce bag from Trader Joe's. I am just putting it on the steamer basket. I'm gonna do it 4 minutes. And the reason I like it very toothsome, I don't like my broccoli mushy. And I do about 4 minutes, 6 would be maximum. And the reason I put 3 cups of water in, you don't need 3 cups of water to steam that little bit of broccoli. But I like drinking the water. It's called pot liquor in the South, and that's where all the nutrients are. It's a delicious beverage. I may not drink it right now because I'm warm, but I'm going to save it, and I'll have it for breakfast because I don't drink coffee or tea. I realize people a lot of times drink coffee and tea because they want a warm beverage. It's not necessarily because of the caffeine. So I'll drink this, or I will use it to make broth or save it when I'm going to make soup. So that's why I put 3 cups of water in, because when I put less, I don't have enough of the pot liquor. So we're just going to saute this, and it does take a few minutes.
I just want to add that we are recording this webinar.
Oh, good.
People will want to watch.
Well, it's going to take a few minutes for the onion to saute. So let me explain the difference in this recipe and the other recipe. So the original mushroom chili recipe is adapted from a recipe by Jocelyn Grave, who wrote The Low-Fat Herbivore. And it's a mushroom chili, and it contained 3 kinds of beans: black beans, pinto beans, and kidney beans. And it was a great recipe. And the seasonings were dried mustard powder, red pepper, thyme and basil, and marjoram. I didn't know what marjoram was. I never used it. I didn't put it in the recipe. And I adapted her recipe to go from a stovetop to a pressure cooker, and I added lots of garlic, which I generally do with recipes. And I'm just going to give this a stir every now and then. Well, I was doing a demo away from home, and I brought my Instant Pot, I brought all the ingredients, but I had trouble finding where the location that I was, the kidney beans and the pinto beans. And all the store had was black beans, cannellini beans, and garbanzo beans. And I wasn't sure that that would make a really good chili. What I'm doing now is I'm just adding just a little bit of water to get it so that it doesn't burn, not that it would burn in this. And so I decided, okay, well, I'm just going to go with black beans. Then what happened is when I got to the venue, one of the things, if you guys have taken any classes with me in person or online, you know that I always say that we don't eat 7 distinct recipes every day for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. We repeat our favorites. And I do that with all my recipes. And what I do is I measure out my spices in advance. I get these little spice jars, which you can buy for like 69 cents at Bed Bath & Beyond, or when you're done with spices, you put them in the dishwasher, the label comes off. So I do this with every recipe that I make. Excuse me. Well, what happened is I got to the venue and I took the wrong one. So instead of taking the pre-measured seasonings for the mushroom chili, I took the pre-measured seasonings for my nutrient-rich black bean soup, which is another great recipe. Well, I'm on stage and people can't see, and they didn't know that I had the wrong seasoning. But what happened is I liked it better than the original. So this is how I make my new black bean mushroom chili. And as far as sauteing, you can go as long or as short as you like. You just want the onion at least to get a little bit translucent. But if you keep going, you could actually brown it. Now, I don't know if it necessarily tastes better when you do it this way. The only way we'd know is if we did one batch sauteed and one batch not. If you're in a hurry, don't do it. Just throw everything in the old-fashioned way. But I just wanted to show you how easy it was to use the saute function. Now I'm adding 8 cloves of garlic, and I buy my garlic already peeled, but I did put it through a garlic press. And I'm going to just saute that for a little bit. And again, just like sauteing on a stove, if it starts to dry up, you just add a couple of tablespoons of water or broth at a time. Now, believe it or not, my broccoli is almost done. So why did I cook it only 4 minutes? Well, so what I do is I eat vegetables for breakfast every day, as many of you know, and I cook them the minute I wake up, but I'm not always hungry when I wake up. And so what I do is I cook them, and then I put them in this Tupperware, and they stay warm for several hours. But it also continues the cooking process. So I always take 2 minutes off my vegetables when I'm doing it this way. So normally I would steam broccoli for about 5 or 6 minutes, but I'm going to take 2 minutes off. I did it for 4 minutes. I'm going to put it in my little bowl here, and it's going to stay warm. A lot of people say that when they cook vegetables at work, their coworkers complain about the smell. So what I say is cook them in advance, put them in a bowl like this, or it could be a different kind of bowl. So this is going to stay warm. We're going to use this for the potato dish. And now I've got some nutrient-rich pot liquor, which I'm going to save and either make broth with or my next chili recipe with. And that's why I put so much water in. So that was easy. And that's how easy it is to steam vegetables. As much as I love my Instant Pot, I don't like it for steaming certain vegetables. Things like Brussels sprouts, broccoli, sugar snap peas, zucchini, they get just a little bit too mushy in it. So I just do this on the stove, and you see how quick it was. So now I'm going to add my mushrooms. The recipe calls for 2 pounds of mushrooms. Again, I'm lazy. I buy them already sliced, and the best I can do is 30 ounces. These are 3 10-ounce bags, so I'm technically 2 ounces short, no big deal. But because mushrooms are so high in water and so voluminous, I find that just sauteing this for a few minutes, it really helps reduce the volume so that that pressure cooker isn't so full. But again, once that 8-quart Instant Pot comes out, it's not going to be a problem just to throw everything in. So there we go.
Chef AJ, you said that we will actually have the recipes later.
Absolutely.
Right?
I promise by this week. I absolutely 100% promise that they will have written recipes in the next couple of days. I promise.
All right. And your birthday is on Tuesday.
My birthday's on Tuesday. As my birthday present to you, by my birthday, March 22nd, I will have those recipes to Gustavo.
All right. Well, happy birthday.
So we're just going to let this cook down for a little bit. All this time I had the Instant Pot for years, I never realized that there's a hook on both sides you can put it on. So that's pretty cool. So we'll let this cook down a little bit. Now I only have a place for 2 plugs here. So one of my Instant Pots has already been used to make the nacho cheese sauce. So cheese sauces are very popular. Just about every plant-based chef has one. This is my new version of my nacho cheese sauce. It's slightly spicy, it's thick, it's creamy, it's delicious. Most cheese sauces start with something high fat like nuts, and that's why they're so creamy and delicious. Well, when I stopped eating nuts 4 years ago, I swapped out the nuts for beans, for cannellini beans specifically. And it was good, the taste was good, the texture, I found I couldn't get it to thicken up as much without using something like arrowroot or tapioca. So what I did is I decided to try vegetables, because any way I can get people to eat more vegetables, particularly non-starchy vegetables, I'm down with. So I tried cauliflower. And again, the taste was good, but again, something was missing in the texture. So then what I did is I discovered the secret ingredient in so many wonderful recipes, the potato. And you don't need a lot of it. So what I do is I had to do this in advance because of the fact that I don't have enough plugs, but it was very easy. In my Instant Pot, I don't know if you can see that. I'll hold it up. Can you see it, Gustavo? Okay. So what I did is I put the steamer rack in. I filled the rack to the top of the rack with water. It was about a cup. And I put in a 12-ounce bag of broccoli cauliflower, 12-ounce bag of cauliflower that I got at Trader Joe's. And
can you show me one more time?
Yep, absolutely.
A little higher? Yeah. Okay. Right.
Okay. So I used the rack, I put 12 ounces of cauliflower, and I put a 4-ounce Yukon Gold potato. This is what 4 ounces looks like. I have a food scale. I'm going to show you how we use it a little bit later, but it's pretty easy to find a potato that size. Almost every store you go to will have a scale. I buy the organic bag of Yukon Golds, and there's always one that is 4 ounces. If not, I can make it 4 ounces. But I do like being precise, and that's why I think my recipes come out good, because I do weigh and measure. I do weigh everything rather than measure it. I was a volunteer culinary instructor at the Braille Institute for many years. Almost everyone there went blind because of type 2 diabetes, which we know with this type of diet is not only preventable but largely reversible. And I noticed that people measure differently, even sighted people. Like when you're measuring, say, oats, some people top it off perfectly. It's so I really am all for weighing things, and food scales are like $10. So we're going to take the ingredients that are in here and put them in the blender. And we're going to save this water, because if you feel the sauce is too thick, then what we're going to do is use a little bit of the water from cooking the cauliflower and the potato together. Just put that in. Okay. You know what? I hate to waste one drop of nutrients. I'm putting it in. There we go. Executive decision. So now we're going to add 3 tablespoons of lemon juice. And I just buy bottled organic lemon juice. It's just easier for me. And my spices, which are 4 tablespoons of nutritional yeast, 2 teaspoons of smoked paprika, half a teaspoon each of onion powder and garlic powder, And to give it a nice little kick, half a teaspoon of chipotle powder. If it's too hot for you, you can cut it down to a quarter teaspoon or omit it. But because I don't use salt, I think these spices work very well together because they create a lot of flavor.
Don't worry, everybody. You will get the recipe. Don't
promise by Tuesday. So you can see that I'm sauteing this, and it's starting to reduce in volume, which is great. This is what it's like.
How long do you cook the potatoes and the cauliflower?
Oh, thank you. Excellent question. About 6 minutes. 6 minutes at high pressure. The cauliflower cooks much more quickly, but it does take a little bit longer to cook that potato. Okay, so this is, you guys, you can saute it as long or as short as you like, or not at all. Now we're going to add our other ingredients. 3 cans of salt-free black beans. Each can of beans has approximately 1.5 cups of beans. So if you were going to cook your beans from scratch, you'd want to use 4.5 cups total for this recipe. Keep in mind, though, that I'm using the liquid. There's flavor in the liquid. So if you're using scratch beans, you're going to need to add in 1.5 cups of liquid, either water or no sodium vegetable broth, because of using your beans cooked from scratch. These are BPA-free cans. You can also get aseptic cartons if you're worried about something like that. So, and once you have your pressure cooker, you can easily and inexpensively cook your beans from scratch. Here we have 3 cans of the black beans. And my favorite tomato product, again in BPA-free cans, are the Muir Glen Organic Fire Roasted Tomato, salt-free. And you can get these on Amazon or Vitacost. I get them at every store by me, whether it's my regular grocery store has them. Of course, Whole Foods has them. So 2 cans. And just that little bit of sauteing reduced the volume enough that I'm going to easily be able to close the top to the pressure cooker. And then my seasoning. And this time I have it right. See, now if I would do as I tell you to do and don't do myself and get a label, I would have not pulled the wrong seasoning. But then I wouldn't have had this yummy hybrid recipe. Add my seasoning. What I love about this recipe, it's probably the quickest in time, 6 minutes. And so if I'm doing a demo, that's what I love to do about it. Also because it's really using all cans, and for people that are in small towns or just to show them how easy this is. I once actually had to teach somewhere at a university, and there was no healthy food around, and I actually cooked this dish in my car because my car actually has an actual plug. So again, lots of buttons here, really don't know what they mean. I'm going to turn off the saute function, just press the manual button, push the timer down to 6 minutes. Remember, the beans are already cooked. You don't want to use uncooked beans in a recipe like this. You want to always have them cooked. We'll just push this aside and we'll go on to the next recipe, which is the sauce. As you know, I already had all the ingredients in my blender.
AJ, if you don't use salt, how do you get your iodine into your diet?
So I eat sea vegetables. I love the whole dulse. That's my favorite. I buy it at seaveg.com, Maine Coast Sea Vegetables. You can also buy it in the powdered form. And so I'll sprinkle a little bit of this on my food. The doctors at True North, who are my medical doctors, say you don't have to do it every day, just a little bit. And this is my favorite one, the dulse. There's also kelp and nori, other types of sea vegetables, but that's what I do. I haven't eaten salt intentionally really for, well, really ever. I was raised in a salt-free house. My parents already had heart disease, so I never really developed a taste for it like other people. Unfortunately, that wasn't the case with sugar. So put everything in the blender. And actually, you know, I have a Vitamix, but for this recipe, it's not that important that you have a high-powered blender. For the ice cream recipe, it will be. And that is it. Now, as you know, with a high-powered blender, everything gets hot, but the ingredients were already hot, so we don't have to worry about that. You can see this is hot, delicious. Look at this. Doesn't it look? It's orange without having to put any, and not that there's anything wrong with carrots and sweet potatoes.
So tell us one more time, what is it that you just made? This
the nacho cheese sauce. So this is
okay. That's the cheese sauce in the blender.
Mexican, yes. And what we're going to do is we're going to put this on a couple of different things. We're going to put it actually. You know what? I'm going to show you right now. Why not? It's ready. So I am not afraid to microwave. Dr. Greger says it's safe. Dr. Furman says it's safe. and I travel full time. And sometimes that's the best I could do. Of course, roasted potatoes taste better, but if you're only making one, or you don't want to turn the oven on because it's 100 degrees in your apartment like it often is here, I use this thing called the Potato Express. I love it for travel because it keeps my potatoes warm. You can get them at Walmart, Bed Bath & Beyond, and you can cook one or several potatoes. So here we have a russet potato. And what I like to do, let me get a pretty plate. Well, this is pretty enough. Take my potato. Nothing like a stuffed potato. Open it up. You know, you go like this. Look at that. Isn't that beautiful?
Mm.
My broccoli. This is one of my favorite meals. And I love that I didn't overcook it. I'm going to look for the smaller
It's so easy to overcook the broccoli.
Right. It doesn't taste good when it's mushy. I like it to have that bright green color. So we're going to put it in. I wish there were people here to eat this because, I mean, I will eat it. I just can't eat it while I'm cooking.
I know. I usually am there, and I try it.
It's much more fun when Gustavo's here.
Oh, yeah.
So what I do is I stuff my potato. And of course, you could, look, if you have anything against a potato, then don't watch my show. No, just kidding. Potato. But you can see I try to put as much broccoli in as I can. And this is sauce is great just over broccoli. It doesn't have to be over a potato. And then let's take our cheese sauce, nice and hot. Oh, baby. Oh, look at that.
Oh, my gosh. I'm so hungry.
Oh, man. This is so good. This really, I think, this is the easiest of all the. Charles, would you like? My husband's here. Charles, do you think you'd like to try this?
Yes, Charles. How are you?
Look at that, guys. This is so. Let me try to.
Oh, that is absolutely
This is
sinful.
die for. Charles,
Yeah.
what's try it? We actually have we're filming before a live studio audience, and maybe below. So,
Charles works really hard as well behind the scenes for all of this to happen. So thank you, Charles.
it takes 3 people to put these on, guys. So this will keep in your fridge. I've kept it up. What do you think, Charles?
Very good.
He's never had it before,
Yeah,
actually. So
Very
perfect.
nice.
So we'll
Is
just
there a substitution if you cannot have nutritional yeast?
to my knowledge, there is none. The thing is you know, it's a good thing you brought that up because one of the things I wanted to say is, at least what I've read, is if you're going to use nutritional yeast, don't use it every single day in huge amounts. That's why I only put 4 tablespoons in. It's more of a condiment. They recommend that you use an unfortified one rather than one that's been fortified with folic acid. It's the only thing I know of that really has that cheesy flavor that you're going after. So unfortunately, I don't know of a substitute. I just don't. And it's not something that I eat all the time, nutritional yeast. And when I do use it, I try to minimize it and use as little bit as possible in my recipes to get that flavor.
So could someone leave it out, or do you think it won't really?
Well, I think that's you know, that's sort of like saying, well, can I leave the cocoa powder out of chocolate cake?
Right.
I don't think so. I mean, you can try it, but that is what is making it taste like cheese.
Okay, I see.
You know, but please try it. You know, if you had asked that question before I mixed the stuff, I could have left it out and tasted it. Because that really is the key ingredient in these faux cheese sauces.
Right.
If anybody
Okay.
knows anything else that tastes like cheese, let me know. So another type of potato that I love, let me look for my gloves, is called the Hasselback potato. It was named after an inn, I believe, or a restaurant. And it's just a really, really fun way to eat potatoes. And we can eat the cheese sauce on it. I like to do salsa. So I've already pre-cooked this because it's too hot in here to have the oven on during these webinars. If you watched our first one, you would know how I was sweating like crazy. So I'm going to show you the finished product, and I'm going to show you how to make it. And I did 1 sweet potato, and I did 1 russet, but you could do Yukon Golds. I here used what is called the Crispies trays that my friend and student Jackie Shook got for me. This is the miniature one. If you want to see us use the large one, refer to the first webinar we did when we made the crispy potatoes.
Mhm.
So this is what they look like. These are called Hasselback potatoes, and they're really fun to eat because they get really crispy, almost like potato chips. And so what you can do is you can dip them in the cheese sauce. I love to dip these in salsa. And I'm going to show you how to make it. And I love these trays because it crisps up, and you can see it's like having, you know, how many, I don't know, like 25 potato chips. So here we do. Here's how you make it. I hope you can see over here. Maybe, you know what? I think I could come over here and cut it over here.
Right, that would be good. Yeah.
All right. So what we do is you need a cutting board. You need a knife. And I'm actually using this knife handle as a guide. Because if I don't use a knife handle as a guide, what I'm going to do is cut all.
No, we cannot really see.
Oh, okay. Hold on. Let me see if I can raise it up.
Or maybe cut it. Okay, now we can. I think Charles is moving the camera.
Now, Gustavo, right here.
Just go a little. There you go.
Okay.
Okay, good.
So I'm using a knife, but I'm using this knife handle as a guide. You could use a chopstick or something.
Where do you buy the crispy tray?
QVC, QVC.com. They're about $24, and they're fantastic, especially because we're doing no oil. So the reason I'm using this knife as a guide, because if I cut all the way through, I would have slices, and I want to keep this potato intact. So I usually start in the middle, and then this knife handle, I hit it so I can't go all the way down. And I try to make as many cuts as I can, you know, about it. I don't know if this is 1/8 of an inch, but as small as I can make it all the way down, both ends, using that knife handle to catch the knife so that it doesn't cut all the way through. So sort of like an accordion. Turn it around, go the other way. Bake it at about 400, 425, even 450. It doesn't really matter. The higher the temperature, the quicker it'll go. It takes about, 45 minutes to get nice and crispy. And then when they're done, you can just break them and peel them, and almost like having potato chips. Like I say, I love dipping them in the cheese sauce. I love dipping them in the salsa. So there we go. You can see how I did that. And again, if you don't think you went far enough, yeah, you can always very carefully run your knife through again. But you don't want to go all the way through to the bottom, because then you'll detach the potato. And they're just a really, really fun way to do potatoes, and it crisps them up. Like I say, I'm not going to bake this right now because it's just too hot in here. All right, next recipe. So one of the things I like to do, in addition to eating vegetables for breakfast, is to eat vegetables before dinner, at least another pound of non-starchy vegetables. So jicama is awesome. You can buy it already cut up. We had a mom and pop store next door where I bought this already cut up, but even Trader Joe's, Whole Foods, your regular market, Costco sells jicama cut up. Jicama is like a bulb. It's like called a Mexican potato. And like I said, I had that ruptured tendon last year. I was disabled for 6 months. I don't have the best knife skills. So if there's a way to buy something cut up, I will. So these are already cut up. But what I want to say is, if you can find, if you are one person to cut stuff up yourself, get a crinkle cutter, because then you can get this nice little crinkle, like an actual crinkle cut French fry, and they really do look like French fries. So I might have to cut a few of these just to get them a little bit more fry shape, but at least the hard work was done for me. And these are not fries, obviously, in the traditional sense of the word. Now, I learned how to make these at Rancho La Puerta, which is a spa in Mexico that I have the privilege of teaching one to two times a year. And they serve this as a traditional dish. They have it pretty much every day for lunch at the salad bar. Now, they put salt on theirs, and we're not going to use salt, but what we're going to use is some spices and some lime juice. You could use lemon juice or lime juice. I prefer lime juice because it's a little bit sweeter, but every now and then I've been out of lime juice. I've used lemon juice. I like the Meyer lemons better if I'm using lemon juice. So so the temperature, AJ, that you baked your potatoes was what, 425, 450? My oven is being a little funky lately, so I think I did it at 400. It took longer, but I would do it higher. I would do it 425 or even 450.
Okay.
But then it would be done quicker. But 400 was fine. So the thing is that now these are not fries in the sense of the word. I hope I didn't trick you thinking you were going to have fries with chili on them. But they have chili powder on them. Now, you can not cook these, but if you want these slightly warm, you can put these in your food dehydrator, and they're excellent that way. But who can wait that long? So what we're going to do, and this makes just a really quick, satisfying snack. People that love to crunch, that love things like potato chips, jicama is really one of the best things you can eat. It's just very satisfying, as opposed to, not that there's anything wrong with celery, but it is kind of boring just eating celery. This is just a wonderful thing to have as a snack or as part of your meal. So cut them. I like to cut them a little bit thinner because then I get more. And again, with a crinkle cutter, you have a real fun shape. So I've got, I don't measure. It's just however many is in the pack. And then I'm going to use some lime juice. If you have fresh limes, go for it. I'm just using some bottled organic lime juice. And I honestly don't measure because it doesn't matter because it's not going to stay anyway. We just kind of move them around the bowl. Now, how about some seasoning? So here's what I like. I like to use a good chili powder. I get a salt-free one that I really, really like. I'm just looking at these ingredients. Yeah. So here's the thing. I am allergic very severely to black pepper, which makes life very difficult eating out. And it also makes it hard when I'm buying spice blends. Because, for example, this is wonderful on the chili fries, the Mrs. Dash Southwest Fiesta flavor, but unfortunately it has black pepper, so I can't eat it. If you can have black pepper, this would be enough for these.
That's the Fiesta flavor.
Yes, this would be excellent on these. However, I can't do that. So I buy a salt-free, black pepper-free chili powder. This is the Whole Food brands. And I just kind of, I don't measure, guys. I just kind of eyeball it and sprinkle it on. And then I put on my very, very favorite spice in the world, which is smoked paprika, which I got at Costco. And about an equal amount of smoked paprika. Let's get that out. It's not coming out. This is my favorite spice in the world. Smoked paprika is way different than regular paprika. I don't even know why you even have regular paprika. And so that's usually how I do it. And I just kind of shake it around. Usually I'm using my broccoli bowl, moving it around. Now, every now and then I want it spicy. You can tell if you don't have enough lime juice, then the spices wouldn't stick. Every now and then I want it a little spicy. So what I'll do is I'll put up some ground chipotle powder on it. And then it's fantastic. Anyway, this is what they look like. Let me see if I can put these on a prettier plate. These are great to serve for company. They're almost addictive, not in a bad way. But these are just, this is such a fun thing. And you know, people get hungry between lunch and dinner and they want a snack. And I think that this is one of the absolute best snacks. Charles, have you ever had these?
I don't know.
Do you want to try one and say hello to
Sure.
the people so they know you're a real person? Can you guys see these? You can see these, right, Gustavo? There you go.
Oh, very.
We have Charles trying one right now.
Very crispy. We can
Yes,
even
they're
hear.
Yeah, they're very
Okay.
good if anybody wants to make these.
Would you
They're
talk to
very
them for a second while I rinse out the blender? I need to rinse out the blender for one of the recipes.
good. So yeah, they're really crunchy too.
Yeah, I can actually hear you. That's very good.
If you have any questions, ask me while I gotta rinse the blender out for a recipe.
Well, no, I just wanted to mention that we're going to announce soon another free webinar, and we won't say what it is going to be about, but it's going to be a really good one, so that everybody can log in as well. And let's see, someone is asking here. Sometimes the connection that you may have at home may vary, especially if it's wireless. So if for some reason you lose connection, or the sound or the image is not really good, log out and log back in. Also, if your computer has open programs like Skype or another email program or Facebook, things that are taking speed, that can vary. So make sure you close everything and you only have this open. If there are other people in your house that are using games or other thing that is using internet, everything can make a difference. It's not this connection, because this is a very fast connection. So just kind of watch for that. Also, since the webinar is being recorded, then the quality is great. And then when you get the link to watch the replay, it's going to be just fine. Let's see, we have someone. Are we supposed to get these recipes? Okay, yeah, I don't think you heard us earlier in the webinar, but yes.
Absolutely, guys, you'll
The
get them.
webinar, the recipes will be emailed to you about probably sometime on Tuesday. And just be a little patient, because AJ is recovering from a little bit of a health
So
issue.
here's my broccoli, and if you don't want to do a potato, some people, don't do potatoes.
How long will the jicama fries hold up in the fridge? Someone is asking.
I've never gone on past the next day, you know? I mean, they hold up fine, actually, but whoever has anything left here, I mean, I don't. So
Right. But it's probably something you want to make and eat.
yeah, absolutely. So
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
this is just yummy, just broccoli with cheese sauce. It reminds me of the, you remember the Velveeta cheese that our parents used to give us when we were younger. All right, so now moving forward, we're going to actually do the dessert. I'm not going to bake it. It's just too hot, guys, but I have a finished product. And so the next recipe is the apple pie squares, which we're going to put some apple pie ice cream on. Now, if you watched my television show, Healthy Living with Chef AJ, the episode with Dr. Joel Kahn called An Apple a Day, where we used a lot of apple recipes.
Mm-hmm.
We did a recipe called triple apple cake. And this is similar, but it's a little bit different because people that follow the Ultimate Weight Loss Program often do not want to eat dried fruit because dried fruit is about 1,300 calories a pound, whereas fruit like apples are only about 200 calories a pound. So this recipe is similar, except that we have taken out the dried fruit. Now, the original recipe did not have dates, but it did have some dried apples, which created some sweetness. So we're not going to use that. So this is not as sweet, but it's less calorically dense.
AJ, where did you get that shirt that says plant powered?
Okay, so this is from, it should say on the back, I think, is it Vegan Health and Fitness Magazine?
We cannot see the back.
Yes. Vegan Health and Fitness Magazine, Brenda Carey's magazine.
Oh, okay.
So why did I take the food processor out? Because remember, I don't have great knife skills. So I am just going to use it to chop these apples up.
Is there a way to make the jicama less? Someone says that jicama is pretty sweet to me. Is there a way to make them less sweet?
Well, I have an idea. That's a great question. What about trying to use something like turnips well, parsnips are just as sweet. What about turnips?
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Well, maybe something like that. Rutabaga. Okay, so we have them in here. Now, I love tools, you guys. You can probably tell. I wish I had stock in Bed Bath & Beyond. Another great way to cut your apples, which is also a great way to cut your onions, is this Vidalia Chop Wizard. And this is terrific also for cucumbers. Oops, it's dirty. But this is another great way to chop the apples.
Oh, okay.
Saw that? But there's nothing quicker than a machine. See, this is what I love about machines. So now I've got my chopped apples. I need 3 cups of chopped apples, which is usually about 3 to 4 apples, depending on how big your apples are. Now, for baking, I was a pastry chef for 5 years, the executive pastry chef at Sante. I didn't use any oil. I didn't actually use sugar or salt either, now that I think of it, and occasionally only use flour. I love the silicone baking pieces. This is a 9-inch square. You could use an 8-inch square or a round one. Nothing sticks to this. If it tries, it's not going to work. You're going to be able to get it out. These are dishwasher safe, top shelf. These are oven safe to about, I think, 550 degrees, and you really never bake over about 350. And this will be baked at 350. So these are terrific, easy to clean, very inexpensive. You can often get them at Michael's, even Walmart and Amazon. So I really recommend this if you are going to be doing oil-free baking. So one of the things I do is I like to prepare in advance. Where is my, except that I can't find it. Here it is. So as I showed you a few minutes ago that I pre-measure my spices for things I'm going to make over and over, I do that also with dessert recipes. So I send these apple squares for Charles's lunch almost every day. He gets the more calorically dense version with the dried apples. But either way, I like to measure stuff out in advance. I mean, why keep doing it every single time? So I know what these ingredients are, and I'll tell you what they are. But the idea is they were already measured out. I didn't do this because we're having a webinar. I did it because I do like 6 or 8 of these at a time, and then it's super easy to make. It's sort of like having your own baking mix. So the ingredients are 2 cups of oats. And I like to use the gluten-free extra thick cut because it gives it kind of a toothsomeness that I really like. I don't grind my oats into a flour anymore. It's not necessary. I like the texture without it. 6 tablespoons of flax seeds. I've got a tablespoon of apple pie spice. And one thing else that does not exist in the original recipe And I know that some people in Ultimate Weight Loss aren't comfortable grinding grains into a flour, and normally I don't recommend it, but it really does help this recipe because you've taken out the 2 ounces of dried apple, and that is the millet. So I buy my millet and then I grind it and I keep it in the fridge. We're using only a half a cup. This recipe makes 16 apple squares, which means you're getting, oh boy, okay, half a cup is 8 tablespoons. So you're getting a half a tablespoon per serving of the millet. If you don't want to use it, don't. It's just going to have a little bit more gummy texture. So that is what we're adding instead. And this was already measured out in there. So then I'm going to need a little bit of a bigger bowl. Very, very easy recipe, especially because everything was already measured out in advance. I just plop it in the bowl. I add all my apples. I'm going to show you a couple of different apple pie spice variations in a second. Now, I would recommend you use the sweetest apple you can find, not necessarily like a Granny Smith for this recipe, since we aren't using any sweetener of any kind or any dried fruit. My favorite is something called the Envy apple, if you can find it by you. It's not available everywhere. And then my apple sauce. And I have 1.5 cups of, I'm using unsweetened applesauce. And what's great about having a pressure cooker is you can make your own applesauce. Maybe we'll do that in a future recipe. Really, really easy. Now, the other thing that's different about this recipe than one of the originals is I've taken out the baking powder and the baking soda. Why? Because guess what? In this cake, it is not necessary. When I was working at True North last December, as I have the privilege to do every holiday for their cooking extravaganza, we're not allowed to use anything with salt, and they just didn't.
Peel the apples?
I did not, because they're organic, and there's lots of fiber and nutrients in the skin, and there would be an extra step to do that. So they did not have any salt-free baking powder and baking soda, which you can find, but they just were out of it, so I couldn't use it. And it really didn't make a difference because this is not something with flour that's going to rise anyway, so why bother? So I took it out. So there we go. And this, it just, you could, you know, the truth is you could eat this right now. This is actually food, just similar to my overnight muesli recipe. You could actually eat everything in here right now if you wanted to. But we're going to bake that up. Very, very easy recipe. The thing that's taking longest is the chili. You know, for those of you not familiar with pressure cooking, it is 6 minutes, but it's 6 minutes after it comes up to pressure. And because the pressure cooker was filled so much, oh, that's so funny. I just said that and look what happened. Now it says 6 minutes. So it will be ready in 6 minutes from right now. Perfect. And so then we just put this in the pan. No need to grease it. And then we bake it for 35 minutes at 350. And I'm going to show you what it looks like done. It just smells really good. Now, apple pie spice is a blend. And I want you to know that with any spice blend, you have to play around a little bit with different companies because they're all different. Some have a lot of a spice called mace. Some have a lot of maybe ginger, and some have a lot of cloves. And just because you don't like one brand of apple pie spice or pumpkin pie spice or chili powder doesn't mean you're not going to like another. Same thing with curry. So don't give up on spice blends because you can see I just kind of pressed it down. Very, very easy. And I will bake that after the webinar is over. I'm going to put this under the computer. So apple pie spice, actually, Gustavo, when I visit you in Dallas, you have Kroger. And we have Ralph's, and Ralph's is owned by Kroger. So they have apple pie spice there, which is, this is cinnamon, nutmeg, allspice.
Oh, that's right.
And this one from a different store is cinnamon, nutmeg, allspice. Sometimes they have mace. It's okay. If you don't want to use this just for a tablespoon, I would recommend 2.5 teaspoons of cinnamon, half a teaspoon of nutmeg. Just use all cinnamon or roasted cinnamon. No big deal. It's just sort of nice to have these blends. And you know, with salt-free seasonings, one of the reasons, my very favorite salt-free seasoning, I know I'm segueing here, but this is my absolute favorite. This is Benson's Table Tasty. You get it at bensonsgourmetseasoning.com, and this doesn't have pepper, and this tastes the most like salt than any seasoning. If you write Debbie Benson, you can get a free sample, or maybe she charges Benson's, Bensons, Gourmet Seasoning. We'll put that in with the recipes. How's that?
Okay,
We'll tell them
right.
that. BensonsGourmetSeasoning.com. She has a whole line, but this is my favorite. It tastes so much like salt. And for me, it's great because it doesn't have pepper. And you get 10% off using AJ. And I believe if you give her $1, she'll give you a free sample. But there's so many salt-free seasonings. Like I said, you know, here's kelp. Your Costco they have great ones. It's just so many of them have pepper, I can't use them. So I'm just showing you a few. I keep a lot of them because I teach classes in my house, and I want people to have a variety. And so there's a company called Savory Spice in Santa Rosa. You can get it online. They have tomato powder just made of dried tomatoes. That's fantastic. I get celery and I dehydrate it, and that becomes my salt-free seasoning. So I'm just showing you a few options here. Many, many types.
Someone says
Onion and
on
garlic.
your MWL program you can have flax. Is that right?
Okay, so it's not true that you can't ever have flax. When somebody comes in wanting to lose weight, the first 21 days, just to reset their palate and brain chemistry, we recommend a completely no added fat diet. It's always going to be a no oil diet, but for the first 21 days, we say no nuts, seeds, or avocado. And then as they neuroadapt to a lower fat diet, and as they start to reach their health and weight goals, of course they can have flax, because I'm using it in a recipe that it's like in the place of eggs. It recommended, maybe 1 tablespoon a day in their oatmeal, on their salad, that kind of thing. So, and again, if there's 6 tablespoons of flax in a recipe that serves 16, then you're having, less than. Charles, would you mind moving this? I want to show you the cake though. I did pre-make it. Excuse me 1 second. We gotta move. Can you grab that by any chance? Let's see. All right, Charles is grabbing it. So, like I say, I get 16 pieces out of it. I prefer this chill. This is so yummy. We had this. The reason there's only 9 pieces is because we ate the rest for lunch. We each had a couple pieces, and a friend came over. But these are just yummy, yummy bars, and we're going to top it with the apple pie ice cream when I make it. But the millet really helps hold the texture and the shape. And again, if you're expecting an apple fritter from Winchell's Donut, no, you're going to be disappointed. It's not that sweet, but you had these for lunch, Charles. What'd you think?
Yeah, they're sweet and filling.
They're very good. Yeah. And the thing is whenever I do anything now that's a dessert, it always has to be a starch-based dessert. So it's not a flour-based dessert, but it has starch. So in this case, the starch is the millet and the oats. Those of you that missed the first webinar, go back and get it, because Gustavo, you don't even know this, but those recipes, the blueberry millet muffin made with Japanese sweet potato, I am now making with cherries. Oh my God, this is the best thing I have ever eaten in my life. The cherry version is to die for. So anyway, but I digress. Okay, so
Now, how long did you bake the apple squares?
I baked them for 35 minutes at 350.
Okay.
Yeah, and also one of the things I recommend to everyone is please, it's less than $10. Get yourself an oven thermometer, guys. That's the only way you're really going to know. I don't care if you have a brand new oven, electronic. I managed this apartment building for about 20 years, and we would get new stoves delivered, and they'd still be wrong. They would not be calibrated. This is $10. Every restaurant uses these. Get yourself an oven thermometer. Okay, so now, 1 minute, we're going to have this, the chili's going to be ready. I just want to show you, we made this in the Google Hangout I did with Wendy, but what I like to chop my chili with is some faux Parmesan. This is the enlightened version, so instead of using the walnuts or the sunflower seeds or the pumpkin seeds, I'm using oats, and you get that recipe from the one that I did with Wendy, or maybe I'll do it in a future webinar. But again, if you can't have nutritional yeast, it's not going to taste like cheese. There it goes. There's the beet. Perfect. So we're going to release the pressure. And again, how long it takes to release the pressure is going to depend on how full the contents were. Hey, Charles, do you think you can eat again?
Sure.
All right, good.
Charles, could you move the camera a little bit so that we don't see the calendar hanging there? Yeah.
Oh, we can take the calendar off.
Okay, good.
Gonna move in a little bit.
So all we've got left after here is the granola and the apple pie ice cream. And I think we're going to get done in an hour. That's pretty good. I think this was it's about 8 recipes. So these are so fun, you guys. They're like little accordion potatoes. It's just one of my favorite ways to eat potatoes. I can't help it. These are so cute. And these stay pretty nice, the lemon, any extra juice falls to the bottom. Okay. Just going to take a minute to release the pressure.
So let me ask you, what is the amount of oats versus nooch for the Parmesan?
Okay, so what I do is in my original recipe, it was, I believe, a half a cup of oats to I think it was a cup of oats to a half a cup of nutritional yeast. I do for the enlightened version 1 full cup of oats and 1 full cup of nutritional yeast and 1 tablespoon of Benson's Table Taste seed. It really is, I think, the best salt-free seasoning out there. While the pressure continues to release, I'm just going to talk a little bit about the granola that we're going to be making next. And this really is a game changer because people in UWL really can't, myself included, be eating dried fruits anymore. They're just too much like crack. As a matter of fact, Dr. Goldhammer calls it, this is my original granola, and this is what my skinny husband eats, and it's delicious. It's probably the best granola anyone's ever had, but it's made with 2 pounds of dates and 2 pounds of raisins. It's pretty low fat. It has 1.5 cups of nuts, ground almonds or ground flax seeds, to about 4 pounds of oats. So it's not that it's high in fat, but it's just too sweet. It's amazing, but it's just not for us. And so I wanted to develop one that I could eat myself, especially because I travel so much and I love having things that are not perishable. So this is a game changer granola. And again, if you've had the original version, this is not anywhere near as sweet, but it's just as crunchy and it's absolutely fabulous. So making this, one of our UWM members is in a rehab facility. So Denise, if you're watching, we hope you feel better. I make the batch I'm making today, and it's going to be going to her. The other great thing is the original version of granola could take as much as 48 hours to dehydrate because it was so wet from the date paste. This granola is ready in just a couple of hours. So here we go. This is ready now too. Let me go on the top. Oh, that looks good. This is great over rice. It's also great over, everything's great over a potato, but I really love it over rice. But the flavors are amazing. It's just delicious. I don't know if you can see that. I'm holding it there, and then we like to sprinkle it with a little bit. I keep this faux Parmesan in my fridge, and then it can spruce everything up. A little bit on top. If I had some scallions, which I do, I would put that on.
Mm-hmm.
But this is yummy. Charles will probably eat this for dinner because he's just had a big potato. So
You're killing me, Chef AJ.
I know, you got to come over. So guys, you can see it. Let me show you. Let me get my gloves on. You know, this pressure cooker was completely full. I'm going to just turn it off, and it's cooked down quite a bit. Now, there is one other ingredient we need to add to here. And that is 1 pound of corn.
1 pound of corn?
Corn, frozen corn. I like to use the I like to use the roasted, which you can get organic at Whole Foods. And so I apologize, I forgot it. I wouldn't have put it in now anyway. I put it in at the end because of the volume issue with the pressure cooker. What I love about adding the frozen corn is it sort of cools the soup slightly. So you'll see in the recipe to do that, but we're just not putting it in right now because I apologize. I forgot it. I forgot to buy it. So there we go. Put this aside now. And now we're going to make the game-changing granola.
All right. Now, I'm going to answer this question really quick. How far away from Chef AJ are you, Gustavo? Well, I'm in Dallas, Texas, and Chef AJ is in Los Angeles, California. So we're pretty far.
Yeah. But we're going to be seeing each other at the Health Fest in Marshall. So
yes.
Tickets are still available if anybody wants to come. It's April 1st through 3rd. Lots of great.
Please join us if you're near here or not. In Marshall, Texas, we're having an amazing Health Fest, and I will be there. Chef AJ will be there. We might do something together.
Maybe we'll do a live webinar from Marshall if we can. So I'm doubling this recipe so that there's extra left over. Very, very simple ingredients. So it calls for 6 cups of oats. I have 12 in this bowl because I'm doubling it.
6 cups of oats.
6 cups of oats, and I just realized I'm doubling it, but I forgot to double my spices. Good thing I'm in my own kitchen. Again, one of the things you'll want to do in this recipe is use the extra thick cut. You can get them both gluten-free and not, organic and not, because the idea is what people love about granola, Gustavo, you know, in the traditional, in the 70s, the Quaker 100% natural granola, they love the crunch. They love those thick clusters. And since we're not using any added fat in this, you want those thick clusters
you need to use the thick cut. I've done it with the regular, not as thick, not as crunchy. So here's a double recipe. So it's 12 cups of oats, 2 tablespoons of cinnamon or roasted cinnamon, and a teaspoon of cardamom. Because in the original recipe, it's 6 cups, 1 teaspoon, half a teaspoon. Mix it in. Very, very few ingredients in this recipe. Now, we need to make our puree. And so what's in here is a double recipe. So it's going to be 1 cup of applesauce unsweetened instead of a half. And then 2 pounds of ripe bananas instead of 1 pound. Now again, I've had this food scale for probably 25 years. I don't know, it cost me about $14. We can also use it to weigh stuff like for postage. I'm really into, especially for dessert recipes, accuracy. And so it's very hard to say how many bananas because some bananas are big and some are little.
Right.
And the thing is even with cups, people really vary widely in the degree they measure. So I just weigh it out. And you know what? If there's a little bit extra, I throw it in the freezer and use it when I make banana ice cream.
So where do you find the extra thick oatmeal?
I got it of course, everything can pretty much be gotten on Amazon or Vitacost online now, but I get it at Whole Foods in the section where they have the regular oats. So always please make sure, because we're not using any dried fruit or sugar, to get your bananas as ripe as possible when you make a recipe like this. And the thing is you can use the bananas that you have frozen in your freezer, assuming they're ripe. I've done that when I haven't had any ripe bananas. Charles, would you mind getting me another banana? Because I'm looking for 2 pounds here. See, right now this is 5. So sometimes it's 2 bananas, sometimes it's 4 for a pound. It just depends, And
what spices did you put in the granola? Cinnamon and what else?
Cinnamon and cardamom. 1 more. And so if this goes over the 2 pounds, I'll just so I have this much left. I can either eat it. I could probably throw it in. What does it weigh? Weighs an ounce. I'm going in. So I'm putting it in my blender with the applesauce. I'm going to make a puree. If you have any alcohol-free vanilla, you could certainly put in a tablespoon, actually 2, because this is a double batch. I have something called vanilla powder that one of my friends and students, Laurel Paley, got me, which would be terrific in here. And if I can get in the fridge, maybe I'll add that as well. So we're just going to make this into a puree. Except you want to plug your blender in first. There we go. And now we're going to pour it into the bowl carefully. Okay, just get everything.
For the apple squares, how long do they keep? Can they be refrigerated?
Yes, I keep them in the fridge, but you know what? They can be frozen. They can be frozen and they keep very, very well. I keep them in like a Tupperware in my refrigerator, and then I also freeze them because I give about 2 squares to Charles. Now, I know you guys are like, oh, I don't want to get a dehydrator. Can I bake it? No, you really can't. I mean, I guess you can, but I can't help you there because I don't have luck with the oven. Oven cooks, it heats. Dehydrator is just a fan, and it just takes the moisture out. You've probably heard the story a million times when I had to make 55 quarts of granola for Healthy Taste of LA for Miyoko Shinner when she couldn't do it. And every batch either burned, it cooked unevenly. You had to babysit it. You can get a dehydrator for $40 at either Costco or Walmart. If you can't afford $179, I recommend the Amazon 9 tray. You don't need the timer. These are the same Teflex sheets I've had since 2003. And it's just, you'll save money on things like sun-dried tomatoes. When berries are in season, you can dehydrate them. Food dehydrators are awesome. And I really recommend them. So I really should be putting on my food service gloves to keep it nice and hygienic. Since I am giving this to someone. Make sure you use latex-free gloves. If you're cooking for other people, you just never know. Whoops. And I'm just going to mix this up with my hands. Very, very easy. And then I'm going to spread it on my Teflex sheet. This is a double batch, so I'll probably need about 4 sheets. Just going to mix this up. And again, wait till you see the finished product. I am just so impressed that this came out as good as it did when I was creating it. Usually I have to test a recipe many times, and I got lucky first time out. Oh, it smells very good. And the banana, it's not an overwhelming banana flavor because we've got the other spices, but you need it for the sweetness, and the applesauce for the moisture. Because most granola that people like La Brea Bakery or the Costco granola, it's full of oil, full of sugar or maple syrup.
Mm-hmm.
Very, very easy to mix together. You can see it just took a couple of seconds. There we go. And now we are going to put it on our trays. I'm just, in the interest of time, I'm going to just do one tray, and I'll finish this up later. So I'm just going to take a 1 cup measuring cup, and I'll tell you exactly how many I put on. Probably 4 cups per tray. 1, 2, that's what I usually do. 3, 4.
So who's volunteering to go and help AJ do all these dishes? Let's see.
So here's my tray. It's got 4 cups of the granola.
Oh.
Usually I do this by the sink so that I can keep wetting my hand and the granola won't stick. And then you want to spread it out. There's a little bit, there we go. You want to spread it out as much as you can. There we go. Now, what you're going to do is, I'm not a raw foodist, and I don't know if I even believe about how, the enzymes and all that stuff, gets destroyed over 118 degrees. So I crank my dehydrator up all the way to the top, which I think the highest setting on a dehydrator is 140, because I want it done quickly. If you are a raw foodist, feel free to lower it. So what you do is you spread it out as evenly as you can. We could have had another cup on here. And then in about an hour or 2, dehydrating time is going to vary depending on the ambient room temperature, how hot it is outside. But in about 1 to 2 hours, it should be dry to the touch. And at that point, what you're going to do, and I apologize, I didn't have one going so that every 2 hours I could show you the stages. But after about 1 to 2 hours, when it's dry to the touch, then what you're going to do is you're going to break it up to the sizes you like. You can have big pieces, you can have crackers. I'm going to show you how I do it. And then what you're going to have to do, gotta wash my hands, sorry. Is at that point, when you're breaking it up, you need to remove this Teflex sheet. You can certainly use parchment paper, but you're going to have to reuse it over and over again. And so then it's going to dry on this screen, and then it could take as little as just 2 more hours. The most it's ever taken, depending on how full my dehydrator was, the whole thing was about 8 hours. So this is game-changing granola because we can eat it in UWL, plus it's ready in a few hours. So what does it look like when you're done? Well, I'm going to show you. It looks like this. And it's amazing. Have you had this one, Charles? I know Charles usually likes the sweeter version.
Yes.
Oh, I wish you guys could smell this. But these are nice, thick. These are almost like cookies. And the thing is I'm very sensitive to sweet, and this does not trigger me. What I'm trying to say is the original granola, if I ate it, I'd have to eat gallons of it. I can literally eat a half a cup serving, and it's not that sweet. It's more starchy. And if you want it sweeter, what I would do is then eat fruit on it. So maybe some berries. It's delicious with raspberries and blueberries, some vanilla almond milk. You could put a ripe banana on it if you want it sweeter. So it's not super duper sweet, but what it is because we use the thick cut oats and we dehydrated it, it's thick and crunchy, and it keeps for a very, very long time. So I think you're going to love it. I don't know if anybody's actually made this yet. I don't think I've given out the recipe. That's probably why.
Right.
So there's no dried fruit. There's no added fat. So and it travels great. So we have one more recipe. Just need to wash the blender.
Right. I think here the let's see which one it is. What's the next recipe, AJ? I forgot.
Well, the apple pie ice cream.
Oh, the apple pie ice cream.
We go in the apple pie square.
All right. By the way, while you do that, I just want to remind everybody that this coming Thursday, Mary McDougall, Dr. McDougall's wife, is doing a webinar about Mary's Mini, and it's a free webinar, so you want to log in, and Thursday at 11 a.m. Pacific time.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, that's going to be really fun.
All right, so Charles, I'm sorry to do this to you, but I do need to get a little. I'm sorry, our refrigerator is.
That's okay. This is real time home cooking, and I think everybody's really
Here we go.
enjoying it.
So here's how I make all my fruit sorbets. And it's not that I don't like banana ice cream, I do. But you know, bananas are just almost too sweet for me now to eat by themselves or eat as the ice cream by themselves. But I like them as a background note to sweeten whatever fruit I'm working with. Sorry guys, I'm using boxed milk. Usually I just make hemp milk. Take a tablespoon of hemp seeds, 1 cup of water, boom. And I can't get into the place now. So we have, this one doesn't have carrageenan, doesn't have sugar, doesn't have oil, does have a little salt. So the idea is I just cover my blade. And if you really want to be technical, let's see, that's a half cup. Yep, that's what it is. So a half a cup. And again, if you wanted to add some vanilla, that would be awesome. So then I'm going to do a tablespoon of my apple pie spice. This is a half tablespoon measure, so we're going to do 2 of these. Oops, that might have been a little bit too much. And then my frozen fruit. So I've got my apple. I've already frozen it. Actually, this was 2 because
Frozen apples.
frozen has to be frozen. And then 1 banana. One of the things I like to do often is to add some ice because I like it kind of more frothy and it makes a greater volume, makes it a little bit less sweet, but I'm not going to be able to get in there right now. So then I put my banana in, turn it on. Take my little scoop. Let's bring it over here. Oh, this smells good. Nice and thick. Look at that. You want it nice and thick.
Yeah.
Too much liquid. And you just put this over the top. And this, there's no way we can get in here. Just a little bit. I got to show you something. This is not for UWL, but for somebody like Charles, what I will do is I'll take a little bit of caramel sauce from the Date Lady. It's made out of just dates. Wouldn't do this for myself, but for Charles, I would now go, wow. Wow. And then that's how I would serve it to him. Isn't that beautiful? Would you like to eat this?
Sure.
Banana frozen too.
Yeah, and so what I'll do is, I'll eat the rest of this later. But this is great, and we were 10 minutes over, but I think that's pretty good for all that we accomplished. And what we made? We made our 2 Hasselback potatoes, both sweet potato. Here, I'll pick them up. Sweet potato and russet potato. Hasselback. We made our cheese sauce, nacho cheese sauce out of cauliflower that we're putting over broccoli here, but we also put over a potato. We made some jicama fries, yummy, crunchy, slightly spicy. We made our mushroom chili that we did not put the corn in, but we will after you guys go home. We made our apple squares, apple pie ice cream. Charles, can I show them the pretty one that we have to show them the finished product?
Well, you're just amazing, Chef.
And our game-changing granola. You could actually serve this to regular people, to company.
Right, yeah.
This is yummy. But try the granola. Please get a dehydrator, guys. It will make such a difference, especially if you travel, because I think you're really going to love it. I sent this to Mary McDougall because they
used my granola regularly, the regular version, and I wanted to know what she thought, and she really liked it, even though it wasn't as sweet. So I hope you enjoyed these recipes. If you have any questions, I guess ask me right now, or
Yeah, we can do some questions now, or you can always email them to me, and I can.
But if you have any questions now, I mean, I live here, so I can just
All
answer.
right, go ahead. If anybody has any questions, type them here, and I will mark it. And let's see. Do you use what is that?
Hasselback potatoes. So I use them. I like to dip them in salsa. That's just, or the cheese sauce. I think it's fun to have your own potato, and it's like having like a bag of potato chips. So that's how I use them. They're really good. I can see these questions too. Thank you guys. Oh, is that Joanna Lackey? Yeah, I'm doing okay. Just say I got a little asthma. Thank you guys. So I was thinking maybe for the next free, we try to do one free webinar every month and one very low cost one. But one of the things I was thinking for the free one, Gustavo, is I eat all these recipes, but these are even more complicated than I would normally cook for myself. So people write me every day, what do you eat? Maybe I could show people what I really eat what I really eat every single day. And these are not, I think that might be interesting to some people, and or a turn off to others. So
now there's a question from Julie right there.
But Kim, we make it look easy because it really is easy. Are the Hassel potatoes baked first? Yeah, sure. Of course they're baked first. And what is Julie thinking? Perhaps, how do you use the granola? I use it. Well, you could put it over sorbet, but I usually take about a half a cup, and I put a few berries in, and I take a little bit of almond milk, and that would be my starch for, like, I would eat it like after my vegetables for breakfast. So it'd be like a breakfast. Could be a dessert. It's not super sweet, guys, but it's not unsweet. But if you're used to eating a lot of sugar, my recipes are gonna be like, wow, they're not sweet. But
do you see the other questions there on the screen?
Yeah, I could see the one from Julie, and how Mary's Mini. I don't know what Mary's Mini is, Janet, so I'll watch the webinar, but I'm sure if it comes from Mary McDougall, I'm going to love it because I adore her, and I love the McDougalls. So what did I cook the potato chips in? I cooked them in the Crispies tray, which you can get at QVC. They're great for oil-free cooking and making baked French fries because you don't have to turn them at all. And these were $33. They're cheaper now. I think they're like down to 24. It comes with a big one. This is the baby one. It comes with one that's very, very large. Any other questions, you guys? How old will you be on my birthday? I will be 56 on Tuesday.
How old?
56.
Okay.
Well,
you certainly don't look at all that age.
Guys. So hope to see you in one of the areas that I'll be speaking. Toronto in June. Las Vegas has a great one in June. One over here in Topanga in June. So that's 3 in June. Marshall, Texas in April. Am I going anywhere might be going to Washington in May. I'm not sure yet. So.
Right. Well, I need to ask. I need to answer to Sherry here about the cooking party number 2. How you have access to it? Just email me. I put my email earlier on. It's gustavo@gustavotolosa.com. You can email me there, and I'll send you the link so that you can see that if you paid for the cooking party number 2. Well, thank you so much, Chef AJ. And
thank everybody for watching. Anybody watching on the replay, we'll get you those recipes by Tuesday, I promise. Could you use caramel extract? Caramel extract tends to have sulfites. If you're comfortable with sulfites, you can use it. I used to use it, but then I got worried about the sulfites. Those cheekbones. Cheekbones. Thank you. I didn't used to have them. I really need to come to Oregon. I will be in Oregon in October for the Portland Veg Fest. If you want me in Chicago, you got to tell Marla Rose to have me back. I'm from Chicago. With Sharon McRae. I look gorgeous. Hope you thank you. I don't even have wearing makeup on these except for a little bit of lipstick and blush. Oh, eat the same starch for 2 weeks. That's what Mary's Mini. I ate the same starch for 8.5 months, and we'll talk about that
exactly.
in the next webinar. It's the way to be. Okay. You're going to state or DC. Happy birthday. Thank you, guys. Is Bragg's Amino bad for you? It's not that it's bad. It has salt. So if you're somebody following a salt-free diet, Bragg's amino acid has, I think, 180 milligrams of sodium per teaspoon. If somebody was going to use one of those products, I recommend the raw coconut aminos because it's the lowest sodium one. It's just coconut sap and salt. So again, it depends who you talk to. If you talk to Dr. Goldhammer, you say, yeah, it's bad for you. It's got salt. Depends what you're using it for. So I find the more salt people eat, the more salt they crave and desire,
Mhm.
and the more sweet they eat. And if you're somebody trying to lose weight or a food addict, it stimulates the appetite. If you can learn to not use so much of it or not use it at all. I mean, we make the food taste delicious without it, but I know it's hard for some people. Okay, anything else?
Well, very good. I think we're going to end here. Well, unless you want to answer one more question.
No, I'm
here.
looking at a lot of people are saying happy birthday. Thank you.
Okay,
Purple's
very
my
good.
favorite color in case you want to
All
send it.
right.
So thanks, guys. All right,
Well-
we'll get you.
We'll see you soon in our next webinar, or we'll see you in Marshall, Texas, if you come to
Yeah,
the
awesome.
Health Fest there. All right. Thank you, Chef AJ. And thank
Bye,
everybody
everybody.
for
Thank you so
logging
much.
in.
Take care.
Okay.